In June, the HISD board approved a $2 billion budget for the 2017-2018 school year. Staff and teachers received a 2 to 4% salary increase. Magnet funding remained unchanged. $162 million is earmarked for Recapture, and the district is left with a $106 million deficit, which it is paying for out of the rainy day fund. Do you think that this is a good budget? And what would your plan be for reducing the shortfall to ensure that the district does not run out of cash as soon as next year?
This is not a good budget. I was at the 9-hour budget meeting in June when the board came in after midnight and approved this budget with the shortfall. I was appalled that only one board member voted against it. I didn't understand it because in my own budgeting, I don't spend money that I don't have. So, no, I don't believe it's a good budget. I think we're going to have to dig into this budget. A lot of people want to do that by going into the magnet programs and trying to take money from those to equalize what's happening in our schools. But the totality of the magnet budget is just a little bit over 1% of what HISD spends. So I think a smarter avenue would be to go into how much money are we spending on litigation? How much money are we spending on legal services? How much money are we spending on lawsuits? And let's look at the programs that have no direct impact on our classrooms if we start making cuts again. But this budget is unsustainable.
Stephen.
So I've been advocating for school finance reform at the state level for 4 sessions now, and we are not the only district that is now having to do this because we're in recapture. However, I think it is irresponsible for us to have a budget that is not balanced. I supported the teacher raises. I don't support doing it by having an imbalanced budget. Every year when I go listen to the budget conversations, they say we need to do our deep dive earlier. I'm committed to putting that in policy that requires our board to begin the budgeting process much earlier in the fiscal year. Also a third-party performance review to identify efficiencies in our budget and find innovative solutions so that we're not compromising our high-performing educational opportunities in order to bring up and solve some of the challenges we have. And I think we should also consider zero-based budgeting, which some of our surrounding districts do.
So I'm going to stand so I can project a little bit. So I absolutely disagree with the budget. Not only are we depleting the rainy day fund, but there's a potential that we're going to have to take short-term loans near the end of the year to cover payroll and operating expenses because property tax receipts wouldn't have percolated through the system into HISD's coffers in time. What I would propose is that immediately on day one, when I take office in January, we need to start a line-by-line budget review that brings in a lot of different stakeholders within the district, from the community, from the business community, from the academic community, to identify what programs do we have that work. What programs do we have that don't work? Those that don't, we need to scrap them. We need to redirect that money back to the campuses, back to closing that budget. If you dig into the budget numbers, only about 55 to 60% of all the money that HISD spends actually makes its way down into the classroom. A lot of the others, that 40% or so, is absorbed by overhead and various other programs. We need to find out where that 40% is going, redirect as much of it to the deficit and the classroom as possible. The most important thing is if learning happens in the classroom, that's where we need to direct that money, that's what we need to support.
I think we're all in agreement that it's a really bad budget. And my plan on budget not only includes starting earlier, as we've all talked about several times during our forums, but also drilling down to looking at the contracts very, very carefully. We spent $5.2 million on Amazon last year. That's something that I'm sure there's another source of many of our supplies. We need to partner with local businesses. I agree with Susan. We need to look at litigation. I'm tired of us spending money on attorneys that are refusing to get or denying students their special education services, and we're paying tons and tons of money for that. We need to hire an external auditor. And the thing is, too, that we really need to drill down to money on a school level. Up until a year and a half ago, schools, other than federal funding, their state funding did not have to be coded for how they spent the money. So up to a year ago, they didn't know how they knew what the budget at the beginning of the year, but they didn't know what they were spending by the end of the year. Talked to an administrator, and they saved a lot of money and hired teachers instead of buying stuff.